Shall I start? Shall we wait a few more seconds?
Yes, Rashmi, we are waiting for 1 more minute and then I'll just open this thing. And then Rujhan has to do the bhakti also.
Can you please check with him?
Yeah. Welcome, kids. Today for the Gyan Shala session again. I hope you are all excited about it like every Saturday. I'll just make a couple of announcements before Rujhan does the bhakti. Am I audible, Rashmi and Vikas?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Great. So I'll just quickly make an announcement again that the half term is approaching quickly and we have a great lineup of activities which are there. So do ask your parents to sign up if they are on the Gyan Shala group, or let us know who wants to sign up for which particular activity. So this is one thing. And secondly, again, Halloween, although we would not like to tag it particularly as a Halloween thing, but then Spooky Gyan Shala thing is coming up. We have two sets of activities, both for the younger kids as well as like the elder kids. I would just take a moment to explain what is expected for the Darshan group, that you have to dress up like a spooky character, then name your character, prepare a few lines for the supernatural powers that your character would have, or create some sort of a story. Also try to relate it to a dev or anarchy kind of a concept. And if you want, you can also create and present some very quick spooky snacks and appetizers. For the younger kids, we have similar activities. So just keep your younger siblings also in mind, and do inform your parents that they also prepare to make them attend a spooky Gyan Shala uh, around 31st. So probably that's it from my side. I'll now ask Rashmi to do the first presentation. Rashmi, over to you.
Rujhan's
First, we'll have
prayer.
bhakti, right?
Sorry, Rujhan.
Rujhan's prayer.
So
Yeah.
Rujhan has to do the bhakti today. Sorry to miss you out, Rujhan. You should be able to unmute yourself, Rujhan.
Yes.
Okay.
जय बोलो महावीर स्वामी की, घट घट के अंतर्यामी की। जय बोलो महावीर स्वामी की, इस जगती का उद्धार किया, जो आया शरण पार किया। जिस भीड़ सुनी हर प्राणी की, जय बोलो महावीर स्वामी की। जो पाप मिटाने आया था, जिस भारत जगाया था, उस त्रिशलानंदन ज्ञानी की जय बोलो महावीर स्वामी की। हो लाख बार प्रणाम तुम्हें ओ वीर प्रभु भगवान तुम्हें। उस त्रिशला मुनि दर्शन यामी की मुक्तिगामी की जय बोलो महावीर स्वामी की।
Oh, Marham, very nice song, Rujhan. It was very nice. Subah Subah Bhakti Kari Om Jai Bolo Mahavir Swami ki. That was so lovely. For next week, Heenal, we assume that you would be doing the Bhakti, right? So now I call upon Rashmi to do the first presentation.
Thanks, Shiksha. Morning, everyone. And thank you, Rajan, for the lovely prayer. You talked about Mahavir Bhagwan, and I'm going to talk about a bit more later on. I'm just going to share my screen, my presentation. Didn't get shared, right?
No, we are able to view that.
You can view it?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Okay, so how many of y'all can tell me in the story that Dinesh uncle told at the end of Dhanasar, what happened in the end? How did he try to atone for his bad deeds? What did he do in the end? Does anyone remember? He talked about giving some of his money for charity, right? Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so who would remember? Does anyone remember in the story then what did he do in the end? So he took a vow, remember? He took a vow and decided to keep only 1/4 of his income and give the rest for charity. So my today's topic is the same, Pratyakhyan. The word Pratyakhyan means you take a vow. And how many of you all remember or have seen this word when we did Pratikaman so many times with Samniji? Do you all remember having seen and read the word? It comes at the end. No one? Remember when Samniji says, you know, okay, now you have to, in the end, now if you decide you take a vow for one day, you decide to leave something, you'll give up something. Remember? And then we all think about things that we, for one day,
Yes.
we give up. Yes. So that is
Yes.
a vow. Now, these vows, these have been passed on to us by Bhagwan Mahavir. And what is the need of these vows? You know, the soul in its pure form, we have a lot of infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite perception. But what happens to it? Can we all access all this infinite knowledge, perception? No.
No.
The soul is covered by what?
Bad deeds.
By bad deeds.
Karmas.
By
Karmas.
karmas, yes. So because of these karmas, the whole soul is covered with these karmas. And because and these karmas are because of what? What do we do? You know, those 4 things that we do in our daily lives again and again, which lead to.
If you say bad things or think bad things.
So the 4 kashayas, which are those 4 kashayas? Main things, you know, the 4.
Growth, Maya, love.
Very good, Sneha. Anger, ego, deceit, and greed. And our Tirthankar have given us in so many ways that we can, you know, get rid of these and attain moksha. And one of the ways he's passed it on to us is through the avashyak, the essential. It is told as essential, you know, just like how we have other rituals we do in our daily lives. We go to the temple, we bow down to the elders, we do vandana to Samniji. The same way, these avashyak or the essential things have been passed to us through Tirthankar's Vani by the Gandhars. And they are called the avashyak Sutra. They are found in one of the Agams, which are known as the Avashak Sutra. And these are essential because they help us in our spiritual journey. They are very important for the Jain. We are meant to be doing them every day. So in the 6 Avashak Sutra, the first one is, you all know, is the Samayik. So a state of total equanimity, calmness and composure. The second one, I'm going to do it very briefly because I have to do the 10th Pratyakyan, which we will come to it. So the 6th one is Pratyakyan. So I'm just going to cover it. We all have been doing Pratikaman with Samniji. So we know the first stage is Samayik, then is Chaturvimsati, where we pray to our 24 Tirthankars. The third one is we give Vandana to Sadhu, Sadhvis, Acharya, all Samnijis. The fourth one is Pratikaman, where we do introspection. We think about all the acts, good, bad acts we have done, all the thoughts and deeds. The fifth one is Kayutsar, where we non-detach with the body, we meditate. And the last one is Pratyakyan. Now, what does Pratyakyan mean? Means vow. It is a solemn promise to do something or behave in a certain way. Like we do so many things in our life, all the bad thoughts we do, the bad deeds. So how can we correct them? By taking some certain vows. We can help to reduce our karmas, you know. Why should we take vows? Can someone tell me any reason we should take it?
This can reduce our karmas.
We can reduce our karmas, yes.
And then we can actually control, because we can control if we want to eat something and you've taken a vow, for example, not to eat anything for an hour, you control your eating.
Very good. Yes. So our Jain principles of karma states that unless you take vows, your ways are open to the areas. So, you know, where all sinful activities are taking place. For example, if I have not taken a vow that I will not indulge in eating any non-vegetarian meat, eggs, fish, or if I will not drink alcohol for the rest of my life, if I have not taken the Pratyakyan, I'm still open to it. So I'm not shut the door. So when we take Pratyakyan, we solemnly say, Dev Guru Dharm ki Sakshi se, I have taken a vow, I will not indulge in any non-vegetarian or alcohol for the rest of my life. When we do that, we shut the doors. Then we won't even think about it. There won't be any probable chance. So just as you can see in the picture, in a room, the windows open, and if there is a dust or sandstorm, what will happen? The dust will come in, right? So similarly, till until you don't take Pratyakyan vow, you are still open to all the wrongful activities which are being done. So many people indulge in gambling, many people do so many things. So you have to take vow. So then only you can close the door. So what are the reasons why we should take vow? It's very important. How will they help us? Do you think they will, as Sachi had mentioned, you know, you had mentioned one of them. So spiritually, it does help us. It purifies body and mind. Yes. It will reduce karmas, develop self-control and discipline. Yes. Because if you've taken a vow that today, for this month, maybe I'm only going to buy so many number of things, and you commit to it and you stick to it, it will develop self-control. Or if you say I'm going to play PS4 for a certain number of hours, yes, and then you stick to it. So that's why when you do that, what happens? It increases and develops your strong willpower. It builds all these qualities. So now there are 10 different kinds of penance which have been discussed in the Avashak Sutra of the Agams, and you know quite a few of them. You've done Paryushan, you've heard of it many times. So the first one, Navkasi, does anyone want to read it? There's a lots of reading matter, so
Can I read it?
yes.
Can I read it?
Yes, one by one. Riddhi, yes.
Riddhi.
Yes, go ahead.
Navkarsi. This vow means that one cannot brush,
eat or drink anything until 48 minutes after sunrise. This vow is taken during the previous evening and is concluded after reciting the Navkar mantra 5 times.
Okay, can someone want to explain it? You must have heard of your elders, your grandparents, or people in family who do Navkarsi on a daily basis. Does anyone want to explain?
Can I explain?
If yes, you can, yeah.
So it's a pachkan that people take, that you can only brush, eat or drink after 48 minutes of sunrise, because if you do it before 48 minutes, there are still germs in the air and the sun hasn't come out fully yet.
Yeah, very true, very well said. So this is a type of a vow, and you take it a day before in the previous evening, and once sunrise, suppose sunrise is at 6 o'clock, then at 6:48 you can break it by saying 5 Navkan mantra. Next, who would like to read it? Anyone else?
Can I read it, Rujan?
Rujan, yes, you can.
Prahar. This vow means that one cannot brush, eat, or drink anything for 1/4 of a day after sunrise. A day there. Here is the difference in hours and minutes between sunrise and sunset. That is, if sunrise is at 6:45 and the sunset is at 7:15, then the whole daytime is 12:30 hours. Divide it by 4, then I will give 1 pair.
Okay, thank you, Rujan. So, what do you understand by that? From sunrise till sunset, from 6:45 in the morning till sunset 7:15, if you calculate, it becomes 12 hours 30 minutes. And each day is divided in 4 parts. So, if you divide it, we will get 1 prahar, which will be 3 hours, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So that is 1 prahar. So many people take a vow that instead of doing Navkarsi, they will they will only break the fast after the prahar. And then they will say the Navkar mantra, and then they will brush, eat and drink. So who wants to read the next one? It's called Purnamard.
Can I read it?
Yes, you can.
Puri Martha.
Yeah,
This vow means that one cannot brush, eat, or drink anything for 1/2 of a day after sunrise. A day here is the difference in hours and minutes between sunrise and sunset. By doing this, we get
100,000.
100,000 years of karma nirjara from hell torture.
Yes. So, Purn Marda is the same as doing 2 prahar. So, for half of the day, if the day is divided into 4 parts and each part is a prahar, then half of the day, 2 parts of the day is called Purn Marda. So, you will double the time. So, if 1 hour, 1 prahar is for 3 hours, 7 minutes and 30 seconds, if you double it, it would become what? 6 hours 15 minutes. So from morning sunrise till 6 hours 15 minutes, then only you will eat or drink anything, you break the fast. And imagine, by doing 1 Purn Mard, we get how many years of karma nirjara? Wow, 100,000 years of karma nirjara from hell. Imagine. And this is also the same as do prahar. Remember the word dopeher, when we say in Hindi, dopeher ho gaya hai, if you've heard. You know, for afternoon. In India, many people say, no, dopeher ho gaya. Means it's afternoon time. So, dopeher is the same as do peher, to prahar, right? So, it's afternoon time. Now, who would like to read Ekashan?
Can I read it?
Can I say?
Krish is reading it, and then...
This vow means that one can eat only once a day, sitting in one place without getting up during the meal. Someone else can serve the meal and additional helpings are allowed.
Yes. So, how many of you all have done Ekashan? I think all of you at least have done once. Are you all agreeing? Have you all done Ekashan during operation? Can I hear a big shout? I'm sure every one of you has done Ekashan.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. And more than once, I think. Many of you have done more than once, twice, thrice. So it means that you can eat only one meal a day, sitting in one place without getting up. But over here, someone else can serve you the meal and you can take more helpings. You mean once if you've taken something in your plate, you can ask someone to fetch some more. But you're eating only once a day. And you can eat all sorts of sugar and sweet, salt, everything in your food. Then the next one is Ekal Thana. Who wants?
Can I say
Yeah, you can.
Ekal Thana? This vow means that one can eat only once a day, sitting in one place without getting up during the meal. Additionally, no one else can serve the meal and no additional helpings are allowed.
Yes. So what's the difference between Ekal Thana and Ekashna? Who can tell me?
In Ekantala, only no one can.
One person. Yes, Jia.
In Ekantala, only nobody can serve the meals. You have to get it all before you eat. But
Very
in
good.
Ekashan, someone people can serve you the food.
Yes, you are absolutely right. That's the difference between. Has anyone done Ekal Thana or even heard of it? Very few.
No.
No, even I didn't hear about it. So it was good to know. Okay, who wants to read the next one? Nirvigya or Nivi?
Can I?
Can I say?
Yes. Rachit, you've had your turn, no?
I'm Mudita.
Okay, Mudita. First, who was asking?
Sachi.
Sachi, you go ahead. And then Mudita, you can have your turn.
Nirvigai.
Yeah,
This
Nirvigya or Nivi, as many people call it.
This vow means that one can eat only certain things once a day, sitting in one place without getting up during the meal. Additionally, no one else can serve the meal and no additional helpings are allowed. Preparations made from or with the help of milk, yogurt, sugar, butter, or oil are not consumed.
Yes. So, what's the difference in this? That you cannot take any of the milk products, all things which are fat in them, you can't take. So do you think it's easy to do Nivi? Only salt is allowed?
No,
No fruits, no vegetable.
no.
So imagine just eating plain boiled dal and rice, but with very minimum salt and no spices, no vagar, no ghee, no tel, nothing. And only once a day. So it's difficult. Try doing it. You will know. Now next one, I am Will. Who wants to read? Mudita?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
I will. This vow means that one can eat only one type of grain and only once a day, sitting in one place without getting up during the meal. Additionally, no one else can serve the meal and no additional helpings are allowed. Preparations made from or with the help of milk, yogurt, sugar, salt, spices, butter, oil are not consumed.
Okay, so what's the difference in this and Nivi? Who will tell me? Who's going to tell me?
In this one, salt and spices are. In this one, salt is not allowed, but in the other one, salt was allowed.
And one more difference, and one more thing. First line. Sorry?
Can only eat one type of grain.
Yes, very important. Much more difficult. Only 1 grain. If you can others please mute yourself. So if you think you are going to if you pre-decide that you're going to eat moong, you will have only boiled moong with no salt, no spices, no oil and ghee. Imagine 1 bowl of moong the whole day, or 1 bowl of rice, or 1 bowl of any boiled dal. So very, very difficult to do, but we know a lot of people who do it. Next one, anyone else? Upvas? Who would like to read? We have so many questions. Come on.
Can I say it?
Yeah. Jia,
Hello, hello, Rasmi Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Yeah, अर्नब को अटेंड करना.
Yes, yes, everybody is watching it. When you say Arnav, usko bolna hai. Does he want to say it?
बोल. जय जिनेंद्र बोलो.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra. Do you want to read this?
Yeah.
Would you like to read it?
हाँ, yes बोलो. ये पढ़ रहे हैं ना?
If you can see it, then please read.
Okay.
So let's welcome Arnav. He is joining our Gyanshala for the first time. He's from Birmingham. So
Okay.
Arnav, you can read this sentence.
You want to read the first line?
ये मतलब इतना पढ़ नहीं सकता ये.
अच्छा. Okay, auntie. कोई बात नहीं, ध्यान रखूंगी and I'll ask him questions in between. ठीक है?
ये
Thank you, Arnav.
ये जानता नहीं है इतना कुछ.
हाँ, ठीक है आंटी. खुद आप देखने दीजिए. I will ask questions a bit later. Okay? Who else wants to read it?
I do it, Sneha.
Can I say?
Neha, yes. Yes, first Neha and then Jia. Okay?
Of vast. This vow means that one cannot consume anything during the entire day until sunrise of the next morning. One can consume water until sunset, in which case it is called Divyara fast. If one does not even consume water, it is called Chavyara fast.
So, how many of y'all have done upvas? I think quite a few of you. Haven't y'all?
Yes.
Has anyone attempted without water?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Sometimes it's more easier without water. It's called Chow Vihar. So it is again not eating anything the entire day and until sunrise of next morning. That is called Upvas. Next one, Divas Charam.
Yeah. Can I say?
Jia, yes, you can. Yes.
Devascharam. This vow means that one cannot eat starting at 1 hour before sunset until sunrise the next day.
Yes. So whatever eating you have to do, you do it beforehand. So if your sunset is at 6:45, an hour before 5:45, you will stop all eating and you won't even drink water after sunset. So this is called Divas Charam, end of the day, as they say. Next, Abhigra, the last one.
Can I read it?
Can I read it?
Sanchi, you've had a turn. Shall we give it to someone else who has not had a turn?
Yes.
Janisha, yes.
read it?
You can.
Abhigraha.
Graha, yes. Graha.
This vow means that one is not allowed to eat until that unspoken wish is fulfilled. It means some conditions are present
Preset.
which need to be completed before one can take food. There is no time limit specified for completion. For example,
Okay, let me explain that. Thanks, Janisha. So, Abhigraha, what does it mean? So, it's a vow where we set some conditions beforehand And when those conditions are fulfilled, then only we can take food. It's a vow which you take to your own self. You don't share it with anyone else. And there's no time limit because you can't set a time limit. Why? Because you don't know when and how it will be completed. So, for example, if I've done an upvas today and I've set an abhigra that I will only do parna tomorrow, if 3 people of my family members will tell me to, so I will wait till my son, my daughter, my mother-in-law, unless and until all 3 people tell me, I will not do parna. So it's a difficult one because conditions will be fulfilled or not. So therefore it makes you stronger. It helps you in conquering fear because you don't know how, when it will happen, it will be fulfilled or not. And also it stops you from being insecure. So,
एक्सक्यूज मी, मेरी बात सुनना।
जी संतोष जी,
वो क्या क्लास और भी लगी है क्या ज्ञानशाला की? सभी बच्चों की एक ही लगी है क्या?
नहीं, छोटे बच्चों की भी है। दूसरा कोड है। शिक्षा, कैन यू पास संतोष आंटी द कोड फॉर द ज्ञान ग्रुप? आई थिंक दैट विल बी सूटेबल।
ये बड़े बच्चों वाली क्लास है क्या?
जी जी जी, बड़े बच्चों के लिए। आप
तो ये छोटा है अभी, तो इसके लिए
हाँ, इसके लिए नहीं है। फिर उसको ज्ञान ग्रुप में जाना होगा, उसका आईडी कोड अलग है। प्राची, कैन यू प्लीज पास इट ऑन?
दूसरा ग्रुप खोल के देखो, उसमें दूसरे में है क्या?
हाँ, वो जो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में वो दिया है ना, ज्ञान
अच्छा,
ग्रुप।
I'll do it, Rashmi. I'll contact her. Don't
अभी
worry.
चल रहा है क्या? वो चल रहा है?
चल रहा है। थैंक यू।
ओके, थैंक यू।
Can you please mute?
Thank
Okay. So now we are going to, the best part of this, to understand more about Abhigra, we are going to listen to a very beautiful story of Chandan Bala. How many of you have heard it? How many?
I have.
Yes, and we will
I
learn
have.
about Abhigra Bhagwan Mahavir. So this is a story of a beautiful girl called Sati Chandan Bala and why she is the most respected and worshipped. And she has the full credit of giving Gochri to none other than Tirthankar Mahavir Bhagwan. So there was once a very beautiful princess named Vasumati. She was the daughter of King Dadivahan and Queen Dharini of Champa. She was a very beautiful princess. And one day the war broke out between the king of Champa and nearby state called Kausambi. It was a sad war. Vasumati's father could not win the war, so he had to run away in despair. When Vasumati and her mother came to know they had lost the war, they also decided to escape to save their own lives. When so the soldier of the enemy, he saw Vasumati and her mother, and he captured them. And he told the mother that, I'll marry you and I will sell Vasumati. So when the mother heard this, she immediately died on the spot from shock. And then the soldier took Vasumati and he took her to the market to be sold as slave. And just then a merchant, Dhanava, he saw her and felt sorry for her that she didn't look like an ordinary girl. And then, I shouldn't leave her like this. What will her life be, if she was sold like a slave? So he bought her and he took her home. Now, when he took her to his wife, Mula, they named her because she was, Vasumati was not talking. They decided to give her a new name and they called her Chandan Bala. And Chandan Bala, they lived, her attitude was just like of a daughter. She would behave that she was their daughter. And Mula, she had a bit of the wife, Dhanava's wife, the merchant's wife. She was a little apprehensive because she knew that Chandan Bala was so beautiful, She always was suspecting her husband's intention. So one day when the merchant came home, the servant who washed his feet was not there, and Chandan Bala decided she thought, what a wonderful opportunity to serve him, and she decided to wash his feet. And while she was doing that, her hair slipped out of the buckle. The merchant saw this and felt that her hair might get dirty. He lifted her hair and clipped it on the back of her head. Mula saw all this and she was very outraged. She felt that her doubts about Chandana were true. And then what does she do? So when Dhanava was away on a business trip, his wife called a barber to cut off all her beautiful hair. She tied Chandana's legs with heavy chains and locked her in a room. And she went to her parents' house. When Dhanava returned back from his trip, he didn't see either Mula or Chandanbala. He asked the servants about them. The servants told him that Mula was at her parents' place. And one old woman, she didn't, mind being shouted at. So she told Dhanava that she was kept in this particular room at far end of the house. And when the merchant went to the room and he saw Chandanbala locked up, he felt really, really sorry. And he told her, you must be hungry. Let me go and find some find some food for you. So he went to the kitchen and the only thing he could see in the kitchen was some urad dal ke bakule, maybe some soaked urad lentils. He took them to her. He asked her, I will go and find a blacksmith to cut off your heavy chains. So he left the house. And Chandanbala was just thinking, she was amazed, the story, how her life was going, from where princess she had, to what stage she was now, from rich to almost helpless. And just then she saw a monk passing by. And who was that monk? None other than Lord Mahavir. And she called out to him. And she knew that the monks were always about on the road only to look out for some gochari, some food. And she said, oh, respected monk, please accept this food if it's suitable for you. But Lord Mahavir had taken a vow to fast until a person who met certain conditions would offer him food. So he had taken an abhigra and he had taken 13 abhigras. Now, I'm not going to mention all 13, but I'm going to mention 5. So his conditions were, the person who would be offering should be a princess. She should be bald-headed. She should be in chains. She should offer uncooked lentils with one foot inside the house and other outside. And she should be in tears. So when she called out, Lord Mahavir looked at her and noticed that one of his pre-decided conditions was still missing. She met all conditions except the tears in her eyes. And therefore, he proceeded ahead. Chandanbala felt very sad and tears started running down her face. In a crying voice, she once again requested the monk to accept the food. Lord Mahavir saw the tears in her eyes and came back to accept the food, knowing that all his conditions were met. Chandanbala offered the urad dal lentils to Lord Mahavir and was very happy. So what happened? When he accepted them, suddenly there was sound waves from heaven by chanting of Ahodanam, Ahodanam, which meant, what a great charity. The heavenly angels, they celebrated the end of the fasting by Lord Mahavir. There was happiness everywhere on completion of such a difficult abhigra. Why do you think it was called difficult? Can anyone?
Because you wouldn't find many people like that.
And such difficult, terms and conditions he had said that there were a few more, like that she should have at least 3-day fasting and all that. And then maybe you would ask, like, how did Mahavir know that she was a princess? Because he had Avdi Gyan. He could know. He had so much knowledge. So there were a couple more, but I decided to only concentrate on 5. And all the heavenly angels, then they poured rain consisting of diamonds, jewels, pearls, because all Indra and other gods were relieved from worry of Bhagwan's health. They were worried, when will his fast end? He was fasting for more than 5 months and 25 days. So it was a long, long time. And amidst all this music and celebration, the king of that place, King Shatanik, he passed by. He saw Chandanbala, and then his servant Sampul recognized Chandanbala. He walked towards her, bowed down, broke out in tears. And King Shatanik asked him, why are you crying? And he said, this is Vasumati, princess of Champa, daughter of King Dadivan and Queen Harini. So now the king and queen recognized her and invited her to live with them. And after a few years, Lord Mahavir, he attained Keval Gyan, perfect knowledge. He re-established the fourfold order of the Jain Sangh. That's why he was then known as Tirthankar, the fourth Tirth. And at that time, Chandan Bala took Diksha and became the first nun sadhvi. She became the head nun of the Jain order. And later on, she attained Keval Gyan and liberation from the cycle of life and death. So what a beautiful story, and what an abhigraha of Mahavir Bhagwan. Now, how many of you all would even dare to do such a thing? Can you all think of taking small, if not abhigraha, maybe you all can take small vows? Would someone like to share with me what sort of vows they can take, something that works for them in their daily routine? Would someone like to take some vows? How many of you all have taken vow that you're going to say Navkar mantra? Has anyone? No one?
I did.
You did, Janisha?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
nice.
So I say Navakar mantra before eating once and after eating once. And before I sleep, I say it 7 times. And then when I wake up, I say it 8 times. And then when I go out, I say it 4 times.
Very, very nice. That's great. Good to know, Janisha. So that's the end of my lecture. If any questions, please feel free to ask. And if not, I can pass it now to Vikas uncle because there's very limited time left. Sorry for such a long lecture. Vikas, I think you can take now.
Thanks, Rashmi. Screen share. Hope you guys are able to view my, able to hear my voice clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. Hope you guys are able to see the screen. Is the screen available? Visible?
Yes, Vikas.
Okay, Jai Junin to all kids. Today's my topic is little different from what we learned so far, but I'll try to make it exciting and let's see how we can take through the session. So before I start with my topic, I just want to show one picture. If you can able to realize what actually this picture talks about. If anyone can guess what this picture, the main picture in the middle, talks about, it has a two facets of life, or I can say two facets of the journey.
Maybe
One is
two
very
faces
blossom,
are.
very greenery. Another one is like a desert kind of thing. How we can relate to our daily life? If anybody can answer on that.
Maybe one side, the blossoming side, is like you're very happy in the day and you're very successful. And
Okay.
the other one is that you're very gloomy and very upset and you're not successful, nothing is working properly.
That's right in one way, but I have taken in a way which is called as a life and death. So where there's a blossoms, happiness is there, we call as a life, and where we are not having any kind of hope, and it is like a deserted and cloudy one, I termed as a death. So today's my topic is on mainly on death and types of death. So I'll start before that. I just want to say about the life cycle. Life cycle of human or plant is an animal as well. It starts with the egg, a small egg which comes in the womb, and it starts developing during the time period. It will become as embryo, baby, child, then we become a teen, then we are adults, moving towards the age, and the last comes on death. Right? So this is the whole life cycle of a current span or current life form of the person. Even if you are looking at the plant in the middle one, where we have growing seeds will turn to the plant, then it will give the flower, then fruit, then it try to release the seeds which ends up in the dyes. This is the whole life cycle of the person or of the plant or the animal. It almost the same, which starts from the egg, and then it turns up during the course of period of time. It evolved in the different stages and then comes to an end, right? So my topic, what do you mean by death? Does anyone can explain me what exactly you mean as a death?
You don't live in the world anymore.
Okay, not living anymore in the world. What else?
Your soul detaches from your body.
Sorry.
Your soul detaches from your body.
Correct. Soul detaches from the body. Okay. I just want to ask a question. Is the death mean the end of suffering,
No,
or is it end of soul?
no,
Is it end of pain?
no.
End of karma?
Yes.
Are you sure? End of
No.
karma, it will come only when you are when you are being aware and you are doing pratyakhan and all other vows. Then we can say at a point of time that end of karma. But that doesn't mean end of karma as of now in the current
Okay.
span,
Yes.
right? End of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say no. There's no end of life. It is. I'll tell you what exactly it means. But here, end of life means that the soul dies, or there is nothing beyond that. So that is also known as an end of life, end of happiness.
No.
Okay. So let's say if a person dies today, what exactly it means? So we said that these are not a part of those things. If the person dies right now, what actually it means? So it is nothing but end of current lifespan. So as I born as a man, or if I say as a name of my Vikas. So if I dies, I am ending my current lifespan. It is not that I am ending my suffering, I am ending my pain, I am ending my karma, I am ending my life, or I am ending my happiness. It will carry forward based on my karma in the next life form. Either it will be in any of gatis. Either it is a hellish being or heaven being, or it is a manushya gati, or it is a tiryanj gati. It will still continue until I end up. I take a vow. I become a monk. Okay, then we can say that yes, end of karma, end of my pain, end of suffering. Got it? Now this is what death means. Now I'll take the types of death. Yes, I'm not sure whether you will surprise or shock or not, but death even has a types. So the first type of death is Bal Maran or Akamaran, which I say as a death without renouncement. So the one who has not detached from the material or worldly passions, okay, and if he dies it will be called as a Bal Maran. He is dying in the ignorance. He doesn't aware about any. He doesn't perform any religious practices and all. Second one is a Pandit Maran, which called as a Sakam Maran or Samadhi Maran, death with a renouncement. This is basically for the monks and nuns who have already detached from the worldly affairs, from the materialistic thing, and became a sadhu. And when they died, it is called as a Pandit Maran. They are dying with the renouncement. Further, they are doing the Sallekhna. I'll explain you what this mean by Sallekhna in the next few slides. But here it is mean as a, especially for monks and nuns who are doing a permanent renouncement or permanent Sallekhna, and voluntarily accepting the death before they dies, or voluntary fast till they die. Now this is the two types, major two types. Now there's a question that if the one is without awareness, without doing any pratyakyan, and other one is at the extreme case, which says that it is only for monks and nuns, where we are lying about. If we dies, let's say I'm doing few pratyakhans, if we die, what maran will be called if we die? So the third one comes as a Bal Pandit Maran, that means that with partial renouncement. I'll just show you some picture. This picture is basically talks about the first two. Suicide is not only a part of the Bal Maran, but this is one of the type where suicide comes to the picture, where due to the depression or stress with the negativity, he is voluntarily ending his life. Okay, and the other way is the Santhara, which lives in the world in complete sanity. The person calmly waits for death to come to him, and there is an objective behind the Santhara, that is the ultimate peace, to achieve salvation. Now there are other pictures which say as a normal death, which is a part of Bal Maran, Pandit Maran. Okay, the person can die at any point of time. It is not decided when to die. Either he is in sleeping, or he is in the road, he is in the transit, he is in the study room, he is in the office, wherever he is. When the times come, the person can die at any point of time. Okay, there are two more pictures. One is for the household. Okay, who is Bal Pandit Maran. Okay, he has taken a Santhara, and she has taken the vow. That's why you are seen in the red sari and all the flowers and been put over there. Okay, so these are the mainly three types of Maran, or these three types of death. I'll move to the next slide, which talks about Sanlekhna Santhara, which called as a dying with equanimity. Now, this
Vikas, you're cracking up.
Is my voice not clear? Is it
No,
fine
it's
now?
cracking up a bit. Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Okay. So, what do you mean by Sanlekhna? It is made up of two words, that is Sal plus Lekhna, that is to thin out. Thin out means that properly thinning out of the passions in the body. That is called as a Sanlekhna. This is, as I said, it is a voluntarily fasting until death. It is a Jain view of death by fasting as the ultimate renouncement of worldly possession, and it is a highly respected practice among the Jainism. So, if you see, there are a lot of news are coming up when one of the person has taken Santhara. I think recently there's a couple of person in Therapant who has taken the Sanlekhna, Santhara. And it is applied to both household and ascetic. It is not only considered for monks and nuns or ascetics. It is open for householder as well, and it will be in a not like as how monks and nuns are taking, but there are few exceptionals where the household can also take the Santhara. That's why the Santhara being called as a two types. One is a temporary Santhara called as a Sagari Santhara, and the permanent Santhara called as a Yavjivan Santhara. So when we are taking the Pachkan as a vow while fasting it towards to move to the death. Now, when one can take Sanlekhna, hope I'm not going too fast. If you have any questions, you can stop me in between as well. I don't mind. When one can take Sanlekhna, anybody can guess what is the right time, or how it is being decided that when one person should take the Sanlekhna. Hope you understand the term called as Sanlekhna. If you have any questions, you can ask right away.
What does it mean?
So Sanlekhna, as I said, it is like a voluntarily fast you are doing it. So I am fasting till I dies. So the end of Sanlekhna is the body, the soul detached from the body. Soul leaves the body. So till then you are fasting. So that means that if I am taking a vow right now, if I am doing Santhara right now, it means that until that death, I will not take anything. I will not eat anything.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So I'm just asking that what will be the situation, or when the one can take Sanlekhna. So according to Jain tradition, there are four types, or there are four things, four times when the person can take Sanlekhna. One is called as unavoidable calamity, called as a upsarg. Second is a great famine, durbiksh. Old age with failing health, which called as jara. And the last one is terminal illness in which death is imminent. So that's called as a nihi pratika ruja. This is mainly for saints and monks, but it can be for householder also. They can take temporarily with a time bound. So as I said about unavoidable calamity like upsurge, okay, now for householder, how the person can take. Now person, let's say if he is in the zone of earthquake, or if in the mid of fire, where he doesn't find any chance to escape from that, right? So in that case, the person can take the Sallekha to say that until and unless if I am get free from this calamity or this upsurge, I'll open to take anything. But till then, if I'm not able to, if I'm not live, or if I dies, then I'm taking a Santhara. There's a small story of Arjun Mali and Sudarshan Shravak on that for the householder, how he can take the Sallekha, basically the temporary Sallekha called as a Sagari Santhara. What happened is, there's one city where Arjun Mali, he was influenced with the semi god, and he was killing 7 person on a daily basis. Okay, it is it's one part of the city. He was roaming over there, and king has announced that no one should go over there. Now what happened during the time, Lord Mavira had come into outside the city in one of the garden, and the way to go over there is to pass that area where that Arjun Mali, influenced by the semi god, was roaming, and having a hammer with a weight of 1000 kg, was killing 7 person at a time on a daily basis. Now what happened, there's one Shravak whose name is Sudarshan, who was also residing in the city, and he was a chief, called as a respected person in the city. He thought that the Lord has come so near to me, and why I should not go at that time, just because that it's a fear of death. When the Lord, the person who is ruling over the 3 loks, if he comes towards my door and it says that I should not go just because of fear, he decided that okay, I'll take a permission from my parents, and then he started to go over there. Though all the people, all the city persons, they have tried to stop them, but he was very determined, he was dedicated to his religion, and he went. Now when he went near to that area, he saw that that person is coming with a 1000 kg of hammer. He hasn't feared. What he has done is, he had just sit down at one place, he was in the meditation mode, and he has taken a vow, saying that if I dies, then I'm detaching myself from all the worldly affairs. I'm taking the vows, I will not eat anything. But if I escape and overcome this situation, then I'm open to take anything. He was in a meditation mode, and that person, that Arjun Mali, with who's influenced with a semi god called Yaksh, has come to near to him. Now what happened is, there's a miracle happen, and that person doesn't make any harm to Sudarshan Shravak, and the semi god has bowed to him that you're respected, you are dedicated to the religion. I am unable to make any harm because you're reciting the Navkara mantra and you were in the meditation mode. So he went away, and the person has fallen down. So he thought, okay, I am escaped from that upsurge, or that unavoidable calamity. So what he has done is, he get up and take up. He went to Lord Mahavira. So he has escaped from that situation. So he was open now to take anything, to take the food and all. So in the same way, it is open for household also to take Sallekha. Okay, so the next slide talks about. Okay, before I move to the next slide, just want to say that the few years back there was a protest going on in India to say that Sallekha is kind of a suicide and it should be prohibited. So the other religions or other community people had placed a case, had imposed a case on Jains that it should be prohibited. But it is lucky, or it is fortunate enough that we as a Jain, had won that case in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has given the order that it is a respected practice in Jainism and it should be allowed. So in the right hand side the corner you see the cutout which says about India's Supreme Court has allowed two religious group for practicing this particular Salikhna. The last slide talks about Tapasya versus Santhara. Now, as our respected Rashmi teacher has already talked about the Pratyakhan, there are a lot of Pratyakans which we are taking it, which is nothing but a fasting, right? How that is differs with Santhara. So, I have taken a few points of differences. The objective. The tapasya's objective is a self-purification and atonement for sins, whereas Santhara is to attain the highest level of consciousness when a person can observe the process of the soul departing from his body. So, tapasya is a predetermined, it is either ranging from 1 day to even 2 months or more, but it is not resulted in death. Whereas in Santhara, you are fasting until your body stops working and dies. Tapasya is open for all age groups, whereas Santhara basically being taken or generally being taken by the elderly people who feel that their time has come and they will not live more than 4 days, 5 days, or their death is imminent and voluntarily choosing the ritual to fast. Now, in Tapasya, the person can go back to the daily routine of his life. Okay, whereas in Santhara, if it is a permanent Santhara which being taken, it ends with the death and a person has no desire to go back to his daily routine of everyday life. The focus of Tapasya is to aim to centralize the energy in the body, whereas Santhara basically to try to move closer to achieve salvation and moksha. That's it from my slide. Any questions?
Children, do you want to ask any questions to Vikas uncle?
Or if you haven't understand any slide, maybe you can ask, or maybe I'll ask Samniji to explain on that.
I think Vikas, I can't see Samniji. Do you want to just say the Mangal part and close up for today?
Let's give a few minutes if the person, if any kids want to understand more on this or any other topic, either Pratyakhan or Salingna. Kids, any question or we can move towards Mangal part?
I think we can, Vikas.
Okay, no problem. And we'll do the Mangal part. So I'll request all of participants should fold your hands.
Mangal part.
Fold their hands in the meditation mode.
Eyes closed.
So join the hands. गुरुदेव की आज्ञा से, बड़े श्रावक की आज्ञा से, समनी जी की आज्ञा से, चत्तारि मंगलम अरिहंता मंगलम सिद्धा मंगलम साहु मंगलम केवली मनतो धमो मंगलम चत्तारि लोगुत्मा अरिहंता लोगुत्मा सिद्धा लोगुत्मा साहु लोगुत्मा केवली मनतो धमो लोगुत्मो चत्तारि शरणं पवज्जामि अरिहन्ते शरणं पवज्जामि सिद्धे शरणं पवज्जामि साहु शरणं पवज्जामि केवली प्रणतं धम्मं शरणं पवज्जामि अरिहंता का शरणा सिद्धा जी का शरणा साधु जी का शरणा केवली प्रविद्या धर्म का शरणा चार शरणा दुख करना सुख करना मंगल करना और न शरणा कोई होगा जो भव्य प्राणी करे राधन उसका अजर अमर पद होगा उसका अजर अमर पद होगा बोले पंच परमेष्टि भगवान की जय जय जनेन टू ऑल if any announcement Shiksha if you want to take anything
No, just no, we made all the announcements in the beginning. Just a quick reminder, do ask your parents to sign up for the midterm sessions and also register for the Halloween thing. So, Jai Jinendra to all.